This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to the June monthly partnership meeting of SCDRP, or the Southeast and Caribbean Disaster Resilience Partnership. My name is Heather McCarthy, and I have the honor and pleasure of serving as the Executive Director of SCDRP. And I'm joining you live today from a very rainy Jacksonville, Florida. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. And of course, when I look around the virtual room today, I see members, advisory board members, committee members, probably some prospective members, potential grant proposal collaborators, and prospective staff. And we are so glad that you are here today. Welcome. If you're just coming in, please type your name, affiliation, and location into the chat box. This chat box serves as a record of attendance, and it also allows the rest of us to kind of say a virtual hello and make connections. So here's the agenda for today's meeting. First, I'll provide some updates on what's new with SCDRP. SCDRP happenings include some updates on our strategic planning process that is underway. We have a couple SCDRP staff updates, and we are recognizing one of our retiring advisory board members. And I would also like to recognize our current group members and extend a special invitation to potential new group members. And then during the bulk of our meeting today, about 30 to 35 minutes, we will dive into the Digital Coast tools and resources with today's super speakers from NOAA's Office of Coastal Management. Next, we will look ahead at upcoming funding opportunities and our next virtual get-together on July 27th. And then lastly, we will round out today with partner sharing. So please be ready to share your announcements and resources. So strategic planning update. Many of you know I'm a sailor, and as a sailboat stays on course, guided by a compass, our organization stays on course, guided by a strategic plan. Our SCDRP strategic plan ensures that we stay focused on our mission and achieve our objectives. Our current strategic plan expires at the end of this year, so this is a critical time for reassessing and reevaluating. We intentionally re-examine what we're doing. How can we best serve our members and our communities? So we are refreshing our mission, vision, core values, objectives and strategies for the next 3 years. And we began seeking your input during our in-person partnership meeting in Miami, and we have continued over the last few months. So we have completed now 3 rounds of strategic planning surveys with you. And a huge thanks to those of you that completed our online survey. We received incredibly insightful comments and suggestions. And also a big thank you to those of you that participated last month in our May Strategic Planning Interactive session on May 25th. And if you missed that, the recording is available on the SCDRP YouTube channel. So on May 25th, we received valuable live interactive feedback from 41 of you, 41 partners. And I have taken and compiled all survey results from all these different formats, and we're currently summarizing your recommendations and folding them into our next 3-year strategic plan. So thank you again for providing your input. A couple important staff updates. First, I am very happy to announce that the SCDRP Advisory Board made me full-time on June 1st. And I am tremendously excited for what this means for the growth and sustainability of the partnership into the future. And I'm honored to serve as Executive Director in this expanded capacity. And we only intend to grow from here. Second, a very warm welcome to our new communications specialist, Emily Noakes. Wave, Emily, there you are. We're excited to announce that Emily is joining us this summer as our temporary communications specialist. Emily, would you like to introduce yourself to the partnership?
I would love to. Thank you, Heather. So, my name is Emily Noakes, and I have been with SCDRP since June 1st as the communications specialist. And I'm basically filling in for anything that needs to get done that would have gotten done by a program coordinator. And I did the June newsletter that hopefully you guys got the chance to read. I've been doing the social media and helping to facilitate some of the committee meetings. And a few of you might recognize me. I have been the communications intern with Socorro for the past year, and I was at the annual meeting in May, so I might have met a few of you. So when worlds collide, I am here helping out with SCDRP, and I've had a great time so far, and I'm really looking forward to learning how you guys do things over here.
Fantastic. Thanks, Emily, and welcome. And lastly, last staff update is we have received numerous applications for the open SCDRP program coordinator position, and we hope to have that part-time position filled by really mid to late July. Gino, are you here? Can you turn your camera on? I would like to take a minute to recognize Dr. Eugene Olney. So at the end of, are you here? There you are. You're on my second page of
I,
participants.
I am I am here, Heather.
There you are. At the end of this month, Gino is retiring from his position as coordinator of the NOAA Southeast and Caribbean Regional Team, or CCART. And on behalf of the entire SCDRP, I extend a very special thank you to Gino for serving as a founding member of SCDRP and serving on the advisory board for many years. We will miss you, Gino.
Thank you, Heather. It's been a pleasure working with this group, and I think SCDRP is often a great course, and I just employ all of you all to contribute your time and mental mental capacity to the group. I think we can do really good things, and so I look forward to the future of SCDRP, and hopefully I'll be able to stay involved in some sort of retired way. I don't know what that looks like yet, but anyway, thanks for everybody for being part of this group, and Heather, thank you so much for your leadership.
Fantastic. Thank you, Gino.
The end of one
So
chapter and into the next.
that's right. And I think the next one will be fun, right, Gino?
Yes, I'm looking forward to doing some things I don't get to find the time to do now, including visiting grandchildren. It's top on my list.
Ah, very good. Thank you again, Gino. So who are these groups that you always see on my presentations? These logos represent our group members. The SCDRP group members are the backbone of partnership support. The group memberships facilitate more individuals to join in support of building resilience across communities in our region and support the mission of SCDRP. The benefactor group memberships are reserved for those that give $5,000 or more per year. And with this level of membership, benefactors receive 4 complimentary annual individual memberships. A special thank you to our current benefactors, Socorro, the Southeast Coastal Ocean Observing Regional Association, and Indian River Lagoon Council. The next 2 logos represent sustaining partner group memberships. These are the groups that donate $2,500 or more per year. Annual sustaining partner group memberships include 3 individual memberships. And a big thanks to our current sustaining partners, the NOAA Southeast and Caribbean Regional Team and the Georgia Department of Natural Resources Coastal Resources Division. And the final 4 are supporting partner group members. These are the organizations that give $1,000 or more per year. A supporting partner group membership includes 2 annual individual memberships. And a special thank you to our current supporting partners, ITBS, the Institute for Building Technology and Safety, Florida International University Institute of the Environment, Miami-Dade County, Florida, and Martin County, Florida. In addition to a number of individual memberships, remember, all group memberships also include discounts to our annual meeting in person, Recognition at the SCDRP annual meeting, monthly partnership meetings, and all social media pathways, and display of your organization's logo on SCDRP websites and presentations. So this year, we are seeking to double our group memberships during 2023. These group memberships are absolutely essential to sustaining the dialogue and knowledge exchange that this partnership provides. So please reach out to me if you think a group membership is right for your organization. And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you today's super speakers, Tashya Allen and Matt Pendleton. If you could, let me make sure your cameras are on. I see Matt. I see Tashya. Okay, great. Tashya Allen is the Southeast and Caribbean Learning Services Coordinator with NOAA's Office for Coastal Management. She's spent the last 25 years working with communities to help build their capacity to assess risks and vulnerabilities and develop nature-based strategies to reduce coastal hazard impacts. Tashya's passion to connect with people, to be a good listener, and her gift of gab drives her to help coastal communities use risk communication best practices. Tashya likes to spend her free time with her husband and daughter, biking, paddleboarding, and playing a mean game of Old Maid. So Tashya will be tag teaming this presentation today with Matt Pendleton. Both Tashya and Matt are joining us today from Charleston, South Carolina. Matt Pendleton is the Southeast and Caribbean Regional Geospatial Coordinator with NOAA's Office for Coastal Management. He has been with NOAA for 17 years and focuses on capacity building for GIS, coastal hazards, and GIS instruction and design. And Matt, what do you like to do in your free time?
Short and sweet. Like I said yesterday, I'm a struggling surfer and a terrible golfer.
There we go. Very good. It's so nice to have both of you with us today. Matt, you're up next. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and give you permission to share. Perfect.
Okay. Ready to go? All right. Well, just a few things. I'm really excited to learn about this group and join this group for this presentation and to learn more in the future because it's a lot of what we do. And today we're going to take you for a deep dive into the digital coast, looking at some of our community resilience resources. Hopefully you've all heard of the digital coast, and I'm just kind of repeating things that you already know, but I hope that you can take one kind of little piece away, maybe that you know some of the resources that NOAA offers in this field. So Tasha and I will be splitting this presentation today, and let's dive on in. So the digital coast is basically, a lot of people think of it as the data, tools, training that communities need to address coastal issues, but we like to think of it more as it's a partnership where the approach is we're bringing the geospatial and coastal management communities together. We have a lot of great partners, ASFPM, the Nature Conservancy, the list goes on, where we share resources, we share needs, we see what the communities need to tackle these issues that our coasts face. And the outcome, hopefully, is a constituent-driven, integrated, enabling platform supporting coastal resource management. And we like to think of it as a broad spectrum approach. We're facilitating use and applications. We don't want to be that organization that just pumps out one kind of data and throw it at you and go do with it what you want. We like to discover. We want you to take the data. We want you to map, analyze, learn, and then share that information. And we really have a lot of avenues in order for you to do that on the digital coast. So a big part of what we are is data. We have a lot of data. If it's coastal information, we have it. We've got over 80 terabytes of high resolution elevation data, land cover data, imagery, customized DEMs for inundation mapping. The list goes on and on. If you're not big into the data yourself, we have a lot of web mapping services, which are, you'll see a lot of information in the tools that I'll share today. You can directly pull those into your products and generate your own mapping applications. And we have over 40 national level coastal data sets. So what that means is we provide this data, but we provide it for all the coasts of the nation and its territories. When you go into the digital coast, you can browse by what you're looking for: elevation, land cover, weather, climate hazards is one of my focuses, imagery, and then we have a lot of socioeconomic data as well. On the other hand, we have a lot of tools. We have an inventory of over 50 decision support and information visualization tools. What this does, it really enables people that don't have that GIS software, that infrastructure, or the staff to really utilize the data that we're partnering with folks and creating ready-to-use products for you. We'll talk about some of those today. We also have a topics page. This is great to gain access to Digital Coast resources often associated with these topics. You can see in the right-hand corner a list of the topics that really apply to this group. You can search by that and then see what the offerings are for those specific topics. And what Tashya will be focusing on today is training. We offer a lot of training. We have on-demand resources. We have scheduled trainings. We have trainings where we come to you and they're on site in person now that we've kind of gotten past the COVID stuff. You can search by keywords for this to see what kind of resources are out there. Look at the course calendar, see what's going on. You can request a training from our site on the training page. And Tashya will talk more about this as we move on. So some of the tools I wanted to highlight that are really applicable to this group for the resources you need. One of them is the Land Cover Atlas. And this is an exciting product because it deals with land cover, but there are some big changes coming to this due to some funding from the BIL infrastructure law. So what is the Land Cover Atlas? Well, land cover has been being collected in the coastal areas for many, many years here at NOAA OCM. And what's good about this is looking at the change over time. So if you're looking at resilience and planning, looking at how things change over time is a really good component of that. This is a user-friendly, no GIS software required, although you can download the data if you want it. So you got time series data analysis, generally based on a 30-meter land cover resolution, except for the Caribbean. They have high resolution, but there is high-res 1 meter coming soon to all of the coastal areas in your region, and that is a huge monumental step in change, and we'll see some of what that looks like. So this is an example. If you're in Brevard County, Florida, you want to look at increase of developed areas, you can do that. In this case, you can see the change, a 20% net increase of developed area in this county. That's pretty significant. And when you're planning, looking at storms or looking at change over time, how things might be impacted, this is a great resource to use. Decrease of forested wetland is another category that you may be interested in. So you can see that almost 7% net decrease from 1996 to 2016, a net increase of upland forested area. So these are critical areas for dealing with resilience and storms and assessing impacts that might happen. So back to that comparison to resolution, this is kind of what it looks like. On the left, you have that regional 30-meter product. You're kind of limited to that cell side of the analysis you can do. What's coming is that local 1 meter product, very high resolution, defined, all of these different types of land cover included in that. Another one is looking at impervious areas. You can see the difference, the major difference between that 30-meter product and that 1 meter product in assessing, looking at areas that might flood, looking at areas that, how the water is going to flow. This is kind of night and day for starting to look at that analysis over time. So when is it coming? We have some pilot areas that are going on right now. I believe most of the Caribbean already has access to these products, but you can see the infrastructure law funded geographies all throughout the Southeast, and this is going to be coming out pretty soon. We're actually reviewing a lot of the data right now. So if you're wondering where it's coming, you can reach out to us and get a timeline for when that data is coming to your area. Another useful tool, I don't know if I'd call it a tool, but it's more of a product, but the Coastal County Snapshots. And what this does, we do a lot of analysis with areas of flooding, ocean jobs, wetland benefits, and we put that analysis into a really easy to understand chart and graph, a great educational tool for going to the public, giving to legislators, citizen groups, awareness, and it tells you a lot of the percents of areas that are impact, people that are going to be impacted, critical facilities in the floodplain. And what's great about these are that you can print these out, very nice looking, very concise, have a lot of information to give to people. Another tool is the Coastal Flood Exposure Mapper. This is screening level, national data, locally relevant, a lot of hazards overlay. And this is a great conversation or process starter when you have meetings, you want to look at things at risk. This is a great tool to go to. This is another example in Florida. And what's great about this is you can build your own maps and then print these out. They look really nice. They're very concise. Again, summary of the hazards that are facing the area. You can see on the left-hand side all the hazard layers that you can look at. We have a composite. I'll show you that next. High tide flooding, the FEMA zones, tsunamis, storm surge, sea level rise, societal exposure, infrastructure. So this is kind of like the inventory of any kind of hazard that you're facing that could be used to kind of look at communities, assess damages, look at resilience. One popular part of this is the Coastal Flood Hazard Composite. And what this does, it's a one map showing areas prone to flooding from one or more of the following hazards. You can kind of customize it. So you can really pinpoint areas that are at risk and see all of the threats that are going to happen to that area. Again, you can print it out and share this with folks. It's a great conversation starter. Another one I wanted to briefly mention is the Historical Hurricane Tracks tool. Now, be aware this is not for active storms. This is pretty much historical. You can see that for the live storm tracks really go to the National Hurricane Center. But what this is useful for is looking at history. If you have a storm coming, what speed is it going? What direction is it going? How far are the winds? Does it look like another storm in the past? And what were the impacts from those storms in the past? You can really get all the details from every point in this and storm stories and see kind of the impacts to gauge your risk and look at resilience efforts that have happened in this. People have used this to kind of look back in time and say, hey, this is really what happened with this storm. You can pinpoint one storm and look at all the details. There are lots of filters and storm details, so you can really kind of customize it, all the different categories. Look at the wind and the pressure. So this is a great tool looking at the past to kind of plan for the future. And one of the last ones I'll talk about today is, hopefully you've seen this before, is our sea level rise viewer, and I'll talk about some reasons why it's good for this group and applicable. And again, I want to mention with all these tools, you can download the data. It's very easy at the right-hand side. It'll take you right to our data download page. So everything that you've seen on this screen is available for download or as a map service, and the easy share button as well. So our sea level rise viewer, we start at mean high water, and we go up to 10 feet. And you can get those you drag that slider on the left to simulate different scenarios. Within the main sea level rise component, we have visualizations. These are very popular, even though they're based in reality. We're using photorealistic simulations. This is the U.S. Customs House on the Charleston Peninsula at 5 feet of water, so you can kind of get an idea of what it would look like in that scenario. And we also have new visualizations that are 3D. You can click on them and kind of pan around and move around in them. And they really have a big impact to show people areas that are threatened. We also have local sea level rise scenarios. So a few years ago, it was just we had these global rates that really weren't applicable to everywhere. So now we have these local sea level rise scenarios. You click the tab in this, and you can really adjust it. You can view by scenario, or you can view by year. We have the 4 scenarios: high, intermediate, and intermediate low. And you can see what the height might be and drag that slider over to it and see what it might look like in the future. We also have the marsh migration in here, and this is based on the land cover data that I've talked about earlier. This has a couple more options you can do by scenario and year, but you can also select your accretion rate, which is a big deal with marsh migrations and where they're going to retreat or if they're going to get choked out due to nowhere to go. We also have a vulnerability tab where you can look at, people very at risk, from these types of events or from sea level rise. You can also address a lot of different things based on income, race, and really target those communities that are at risk from these events. And one thing that people do use a lot, because the mapping is so good in the sea level rise viewer, is when there's a storm approaching and it's saying, hey, it's calling for 3 feet of storm surge. We get a lot of people using this just to see what 3 feet might look like, even though surge is more dynamic and there's a lot more goes into it. But if you want to find a baseline of kind of what you're looking at, this is a really good tool to look at. And last but not least, we have the high tide flooding component, which has really become a hot topic in the last few years. You can look just by this chart that we pull in from NOAA co-ops. When you click on the tide gauge in Charleston Harbor, you can see how historically these events are getting worse over time as sea levels rise. So things that used to happen one time a year 50 years ago we're now seeing 15, 20 times a year. As sea levels rise, it's going to become the new normal. That's the new high tide. So this is a great way to visually look at that information and share. And I believe that is my last slide, so I'm going to stop sharing and pass it over to Tasha.
Tasha, I think I made you a presenter.
Yes, can folks see my screen? My slides?
Yes, I see. There we go. I still see the whole. I see
Yeah,
your
it's in,
slides.
yep. Okay, great. It should be in slideshow mode. So to help facilitate the use of the data and tools like the ones Matt shared and to help build capacity and knowledge in our coastal communities, we have many learning resources. And let's see here. Too many screens. Here we go. Okay. And which you can find on our training section of Digital Coast. Matt mentioned these. We have several categories of learning resources. So we have what we call on demand, which consists of, we have case studies, we have quick references, publications, guides and how-tos, and recorded webinars and videos. And these are really focused on learning that you can do on your own time. We also have scheduled trainings. And so these are both in-person and online instructor-led trainings. And for the online instructor-led trainings, there are some where we work locally and with a state partner to host, and there's some that we will host nationally. Also, I wanted to encourage folks that if you're interested in some of the trainings that we have, those scheduled trainings, we do have a course calendar, so you can check to see what's happening there. And then also those on-demand resources, we have a new look to our Digital Coast, and so you can access those by clicking on that on-demand resource, and then we have a filter system, so you can go in there and filter by topic or product type. One of the skills we help build is around being able to map your inundation. Matt showed you a lot of the resources that we have that are focused on, flooding, sea level rise, but we know that folks have a lot of their own information and data. And so this hands-on course enables you to learn about various types of flooding and teaches methods for mapping current flooding and potential coastal inundation scenarios using GIS. And so you'll learn such things as how to connect to web map services, how to access elevation and water level data, how to convert between vertical datums, how to create digital elevation models. You'll be able to learn how to develop inundation zones and map sea level rise using modeled tidal surfaces. And Matt teaches this course, so that's a bonus too. Another topic that is key in our resilience work is being able to talk about risk and potential solutions in a way that resonates with your communities and your partners. So we provide several risk communication learning resources, like this self-guided module that lets you learn at your own pace, better ways to engage audiences of all backgrounds on risk topics. And in this self-guided module, you'll learn how to listen more effectively, share information more appropriately, and build relationships for improved conversations around hazards. We also provide several instructor-led trainings on risk communication. We have a 90-minute webinar that focuses on best practices for risk communication. And if you're ready to get more of a hands-on experience, we also provide a one-day in-person training where you get to practice having conversations and you work on a risk communication strategy specific to community members. I'm also very excited that we're growing our Spanish resources. And so we do have a risk communication basics in Spanish. And this is a companion guide to that 7 best practices for risk communication. We also know that communities need to look at what kinds of actions are available to help reduce coastal hazard impacts and climate change impacts. And so we provide several resources on a focus on nature-based solutions. I just want to show a couple of these. One of these is our nature-based solutions, the basics. And this is where we teach our approach to identifying nature-based solutions to reduce coastal hazard impacts. This self-guided module lets you work at your own pace while building the beginnings of a nature-based solutions. In this, you'll learn about different types of nature-based solutions. There's case studies in here. And then we walk you through a process that helps you identify coastal hazard impacts, what types of ecosystem services or benefits that you'd like to use to be able to reduce those coastal hazard impacts, and then the types of nature-based solutions that can provide those ecosystem services or benefits. And what results is that you get this beginning of a nature-based solution strategy. If you're interested in taking that a step further, we provide an in-person training where you can roll your sleeves up and work with your peers to continue to develop a nature-based solution strategy. We also, at this in-person training, we have local experts come and talk about how they're using nature-based solutions in your area. And we'll work with a local host to do that. We also have a virtual training, and that's a 2-hour training where we go through that same introduction, that approach to identifying green infrastructure, nature-based solutions. And then we also have invited speakers that come and talk about how they're using nature-based solutions to reduce coastal hazard impacts. We also know that there are many needs around how to pay for resilience projects like nature-based solutions. So we started a webinar series about a year ago where we highlight different funding and financing mechanisms. And what we do is we have experts or people within communities, practitioners that are using these different mechanisms, and they come and share their experience and knowledge. We have several of the webinars that we have are focused on environmental impact bonds, stormwater credits, barriers to accessing funding and financing. And the last one we just did about a month ago was on state revolving loans. We will have future webinars, so if there is a topic of interest, please reach out to me or put it in the chat. We love to hear what people are interested in. Also, these webinars have been recorded, and you can access them at that link below and listen to them at your own leisure. Another question we are helping to answer is does green infrastructure really help reduce coastal hazard impacts? To help communities get information on the effectiveness of green infrastructure or nature-based solutions, we've collected over 150 resources and created a searchable database that provides information on effectiveness of green infrastructure to reduce coastal hazard impacts. And we recently expanded that to add papers on the costs and benefits of green infrastructure. So using this database, this interface you see on the screen, you can search by 32 different green infrastructure types. You can search by hazard, by location. If you have certain key terms that you know of, you can put that in there as well. And then what happens is that you're returned a list of reports, peer-reviewed articles, papers. And what we've done is we've gone through each of those papers and we pulled out some summary information. So we have key findings about that report. We pulled out measures of hazard mitigation effectiveness. For example, is this resource focused on damages avoided? And for our resources that are focused more on the economics of green infrastructure, we have measures of those co-benefits where you'll get costs and benefits of those nature-based approaches. We're continually growing this resource, so if you have papers or articles, please reach out to me. We'd love to see those and have those added. One way that we use this resource is we like to pull out talking points from those papers, and we use those in our trainings, our presentations. We recently have been working with some Florida partners in the Silver Jackets project, and they were asked for some talking points on nature-based solutions effectiveness to be used in their in one of their resources. So if you have questions, please reach out. We probably have a talking point on that or could help direct you to an article. We also know that people are interested in learning how others are tackling climate change issues. So we have a collection of case studies. You may recognize this person. I know that she's here today. So we co-created this example here with Mackenzie Todd from the North Carolina Division of Coastal Management. And this one is focused on their amazing project, our program, Resilient Coastal Communities program, that's really helping communities go through this resilience planning process from assessment all the way to taking action. And so we co-create these with other practitioners to share their stories. We really want to try to encourage that peer-to-peer sharing. Also, if you have any case study ideas, we'd love to hear those, and we could work with you to co-create those as well to expand our collection of resources, which are focused on nature-based solutions. So, for example, we have a dune restoration case study in Puerto Rico. We have resilience planning ones like the one I just talked about. We have community engagement, and we have risk communication. I know earlier, I think Roderick talked about home elevation. We did one with some folks in Key West. It's about home elevation education. So these are all resilience focused. So if you have any ideas, please share those. In addition to the case studies on how our peers are tackling climate change and resilience issues, we also provide stories on how folks are using the Digital Coast resources. And so you can access these stories from the Digital Coast homepage. We call these stories from the field. So that gives you an idea of just how these resources are being used. So it's a great place to kind of get started as well. And as Matt shared in the beginning, if you are interested in certain topics, we have this curated list of Digital Coast resources, which I personally think is the best way to find many of our resources since most folks are dealing with certain issues or a topic. So as you can see, the Digital Coast is full of many resources. Part of Matt's and my role as coordinators in the Southeast and the Caribbean is to connect folks to our resources and to build relationships and to provide technical assistance. And so if you see something today that you'd like more information on, or if you'd like to dig a little bit deeper in some of these resources, our emails will be at the end, and we'd be more than happy to chat with you and get you connected. If it's not Matt and I, we'll get you connected to the right folks at our office. I also wanted to remind folks about a new funding opportunity that was announced this week. I think that Heather and Lindy shared this through the listserv, but I just wanted to provide a couple more details about this and where you can learn more information. So we're holding a climate resilience regional challenge, which is a competitive funding opportunity, and it's really focused on reducing risk associated with severe weather and climate change. We really want to increase cross-jurisdictional and sectorial coordination and collaboration. We know that partnerships are where things get done. We also want to ensure that those communities that have been marginalized or underserved or underrepresented are included through engagement and co-development, and that they're going to see benefits from the projects that are funded through this funding opportunity. And lastly, we also want to build enduring capacity for adaptation and resilience. So NOAA has designed this funding competition to meet communities wherever they are in their climate adaptation process. And so for those who are just beginning to understand their risks and getting organized, to those that are ready to take action. The challenge includes 2 exclusive funding tracks for applicants to choose from. So we have one that's called a Regional Collaborative Building and Strategy Development. That's track 1. This will provide approximately 20 to 25 successful applicants with between 500,000 and 200 million to support regional scale collaboration and strategy development. We also have track 2, which is more focused on getting projects in the ground. This is implementation of resilience and adaptation actions. And this will provide up to 15 applicants with between 15 million to 75 million to implement those adaptation actions. Applicants can choose which track to apply to, and each track has its own evaluation criteria. Also, something I think is really neat is to maximize these investments and to encourage new applicants. NOAA will provide technical assistance both during the application process and once the grants are made. Here is some, I think, helpful information. Some due dates of the letter of intent are due August 21st, and then the full application is due February 13th, 2024. Here's information on who is eligible. One exciting piece is that there's no matching requirement. Also, we have set up 3 virtual information sessions to help you learn more and to ask questions. Also, I'll make sure that this link gets out and all the links that Matt and I shared for the resources. But I just encourage you to go to this link. There is a link to the notice of funding opportunity. There's an FAQ that it's great. There's a ton of great information in there. There's also a place to sign up for the information sessions. There's a letter of intent template there. We're really trying to help people be able to apply for this. There's tips for writing a letter of intent. And then also, Matt and I showed a lot of resources that may be helpful. And there's other digital resources, Digital Coast resources that may be helpful in developing your letter of intent and your proposal. If you have any questions on this, please either reach out to Lindy or I or Matt. We do have a team of folks that are monitoring that email address, and so you will get a response. And I just encourage you to sign up for one of these information sessions. And then just lastly, here are Matt's and my email addresses. Please reach out. We would love to, as I say, we like to geek out on all these resources, and so we'd love to talk to you more. And if we don't have the answer, we can definitely get you connected to our team of resources as well. So just thank you for your time today, for listening to us, and I think we have a couple of minutes for questions.
Fantastic. Thank you, Tasha. Thank you, Matt. Yes, let's proceed with about 5 minutes of questions. Please, you can type your question into the chat box. You can raise your real hand, your virtual hand, and we will go in the order that I see you. Questions? Yes, Roderick.
First out of the gate. That's great.
Yes.
Thanks. Great presentation. Been following this project of Digital Coast since its inception. So I work in the private sector in the flood mitigation industry. So we retrofit the buildings, protect sites and infrastructure, things like that, against the flood risk. One of the big things that we're seeing that's really changing the game here is the hardening of the insurance marketplaces and the continued march to actual risk rates on 3 to 4 million buildings in U.S. flood zones. Banks tell us it's $1.5 trillion of assets. We got 20 years before they devalue, is what they're telling us. Not a lot of time. And the buildings are so critical for humans, both in taxes that make our cities go around and for shelter for everything we do. So we got to get them so they don't flood. And one of the things that we really have a need for, so we're doing an ask here as an industry, is we need to figure out how to get not aggregate, but parcel level would be ideal. We know that those technologies are really coming on with AI, but we need parcel level data on first floor elevations of these older pre-flood map buildings. And because then we can take the LiDAR. We also would love to have associated ground elevation. If you go to the LSU flood maps program that's been around for 10 years here at Louisiana, they actually provide, you can go in and Google or query an address specific location, and it gives you a relative ground elevation, adjacent ground elevation, plus the flood map elevation. It won't give you any additional height on the local ordinance, you have to research that, the freeboard. But that data is critical in our cost estimating for these projects. And with 3 or 4 million buildings, we need a better way to mass estimate neighborhood levels of costs for adaptation of the structures, especially now with the revolving loan starting to come online. It's going to be a couple of years before it gets matured out and get the bank money into it. But that's what we're really needing as a next level, because the damages are great, but what's it going to cost to retrofit? I did put into the chat the recent FEMA case study from my community, which is just really goes to show that the whole thing works, is 86% elevated and reduced our damages down to almost nothing, and our recovery time is 2 weeks from a 9-foot surge of water. So it's we've got to get our buildings so they don't flood, because that's what cripples us. And then we can do whatever we want to, because we don't have buildings that are flooding. That's what's crippling us more and more. So thanks. Love to have that asset into your program.
Matt, do you have an idea of where he might go, or when in the future that kind of surface elevation data will be ready?
That's a tricky topic, but a very pertinent one.
Yeah.
It's, there's a lot of high resolution data out there, but we're really kind of looking at bare earth models. So when you start getting into the buildings and footprints of all that flooding, it really requires a more localized approach, usually kind of surveyed type information and community guidelines to do those kind of projects. So it really is kind of the boots on the ground work, pretty much.
We have
There's a lot of good supporting data, but really when you're working with infrastructure, it's going to be a lot more detailed.
Yeah, tasks and goals for the future. Thanks, Matt. I see there's a related question. Very exciting, Matt, when you showed the distant resolution versus what's coming out, the new 1 meter resolution. Wow, pretty fantastic. There's a question in the chat box. Is there an intended frequency for updating the high resolution land cover data into the future? This comes from Carrie Furriness.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because you can't really take, when you do analysis with land cover, you really have to have it the same resolution. So this is kind of the benchmark moving forward. Like, you don't want to compare 30 meter to 1 meter to try to do analysis. You really need that 1 meter to 1 meter. So there's going to be that point in time where we do have that gap, and I believe it's on a 5-year update. Could be sooner. We're still not super clear on that, but that is one of the issues, and there's been talks of ways to kind of integrate, scale down or scale back the 1 meter to 30 meter to do analysis during those time periods.
Ooh, that's going to be interesting. I know that's going to be a tall order, but exciting for future analyses. Farah Alami asked the question in the chat box: the composite flooding exposure tool. How can this tool be incorporated into a formal compound flooding assessment?
Again, it's a conversation starter. It's something to take and to make everybody aware. You take it into a room, you look at those areas, say, hey, if we're building here or we have a project here, these are the hazards that we're facing at this location. So whatever your assessment is, it's a great place to start. And that's what we intended. It's kind of a screening level application, but we want you to take that and use it, integrate it into your plans and assessments.
Fantastic. And Vamsi, I know you've had your hand up for a little bit now. What's your question?
Thank you. Great presentation. So two questions. First of all, when you talk about these, compound flooding risk assessments and these marsh migration maps, do you take into account the existing flood mitigation and sea level rise protection infrastructure, or is it assumed that there is no infrastructure, coastal resilient infrastructure? And the second question is, when you're designing a new nature-based solution for coastal resilience, there's a lot of material out there that gives you sort of qualitative references on what sort of protection each type of intervention can provide. And there's widely varying estimates on the quantitative aspects of that, like how much storm surge protection you can get, how much sea level rise protection you can get. So does the digital coast training provide any information on the gold standard resources to go to get quantitative information on what different types of nature-based solutions can get you in terms of protection for different types of disasters?
I'll speak on the first one, and I think Tasha might be able to answer the second. But regarding the first one, what we do, everything that we do in the flood mapping, it really comes down to the elevation data. So, and it's frequently collected. There's a large group of federal agencies that work together to really capture this data, especially after an event. But if that infrastructure is in there, in the elevation data that we get, usually in break lines, it'll give the height of a seawall or something, then it's captured and integrated in that. If it's previous to that, obviously it's not going to show it. And sometimes they can be very small and be missed, and people will write us and say, hey, this area is protected by this seawall or something that we can't pick up in the LiDAR data, and we'll go in and correct that information. We've had that in a lot of areas in Boston, major metropolitan areas where we didn't, and we'll get the actual engineering study and see what their heights are for that, and we'll build that into the elevation models. So I hope that answers that first one. And Tasha, maybe you can speak to the nature-based infrastructure.
Yeah, that's a great question. So with nature-based solutions, they're all very kind of unique to where to how they're built, to where they're located, and then as we know, our different hazard events are unique, right? And so there's not really anything standard, but there are, and I'll share a few papers with you, Vamsi, if you don't mind putting your email address in the chat. I can share a few papers with you where they're starting to, the Nature Conservancy and partners have looked at mangroves and coral reefs, and they've done a lot of studies, and I feel like that's starting to get us some more kind of consistency with those two types of natural infrastructure. But when it comes down to, dunes, or it comes down to, green stormwater approaches. Those have also, green stormwater approaches have a lot of data that and design information on, absorbing that first flush, what they call that first inch of rain to collect pollutants. So there is some information out there, but it's not going to be a standard, like if you build this way, it's going to be able to withstand, this much flooding. You have to really kind of think about where you're located, what is your design storm, so what are you designing to? But there's a lot of just kind of site-specific characteristics that kind of go into that. Now there's information, and depending upon sort of where you live, there may be design standards for your community, for your state, for your county. So it just kind of depends on where you live, and we could help you get connected to some of that. And a great resource, I think the Georgia folks, I think Kelly's on here, they've done a lot with low impact development or green storm water management. So they have a great resource too. But if you share your email with me, I can get you some additional information. Great
Absolutely.
question.
Thank you so
Oh,
much. I put my email in the chat, and I'll share it with you also.
fantastic. Yeah, I feel like this conversation will have to go beyond this meeting. There's a lot of good questions. Tasha and Matt, thank you so much for your time today. And I'm so glad that you mentioned the upcoming funding announcement, the Climate Resilience Regional Challenge. We here at SCDRP are excited about this one, okay? Deadlines are coming up. We need to get together. We're so excited about it. We're dedicating our next monthly partnership meeting, July 27th, to talking about this. So let's get ready for this by submitting your project ideas. And like Assistant Secretary General Hart told us in Miami, shoot for the stars. Think big, think broad, and through SCDRP, we can work together to best utilize these upcoming funding opportunities and kind of bold, sweeping efforts to advance regional resilience. Don't have time for partner sharing today, but as always, please send us your announcements, webinars, meetings, tools, etc., job opportunities, please either put them in the chat box or email them to us at scdrp@socorro.org. And this concludes our June monthly partnership meeting. A very special thank you to our super speakers, Tasha and Matt from the NOAA Office of Coastal Management, and a warm thank you to you for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you again on July 27th. Please bring your ideas. Thanks again and have a great day.